today I am here with some hacks that will help you improve in the writing section task 2 of IELTS academic. Now I know the task 2 can be a little daunting because it's a 250 word long opinion based essay, but if you keep these 10 points in mind, I'm sure it'll become a lot easier for you. I'm Asmita, your IELTS mentor here at Vedantu, and here is something for you. It is a free gift. Please take it. What are you waiting for? If you still haven't signed up for the free, wait, what did I say? Free. F-R-E-E. Free student admissions counseling, then make sure you're doing that right away. This entire form that you have to fill is a bit lengthy because it requires a lot of details so that you can get that kind of tailored guidance that you need. So make sure you're doing it with your parents and make sure you're doing it if you truly are serious about studying abroad. Alright, coming to the 10 things that I want to tell you. Number 1, here is a structure that you can use. Now I know a lot of you might not be using the peel structure to begin with. I am giving you a better structure, which is the idea structure, but because I know some of you don't know what this is, I'm going to quickly explain. So it's point, evidence, explanation, and link. So what do we get from all of that? Peel. This is a basic structure to keep in mind when you're writing something. First is to make your point. Get to the point. Whatever you have to say, make sure you're saying it in straight, simple words so that the reader immediately understands what is it that you're trying to put across. Then you build on that point by providing evidence. This can be in the form of examples, statistics, data, anecdotes, whatever it is. Some kind of evidence to prove your point. Then you come down to an explanation that explains why this evidence proves your point, and finally you link everything that you have said back to the main point, sort of like a conclusion. Easy to remember, the peel structure, very commonly used, but you can go beyond this for the IELTS. The IELTS writing, academic IELTS writing task 2 is ideally supposed to be around 320 words long. So you need a proper structure so that you are hitting that word limit, so that you have enough things to say. So here you can, instead of using just the peel structure, move to the idea structure. I, introduce your main idea. D, develop with detail. E, explain why it matters. A, add an example. S, summarize or link it back. So as you can see, there is an extra step here, which is explain why it matters. And this adds a lot of depth, a lot of substance to your written work, because the entire point of IELTS is to test your English proficiency. Here you're not just trying to write an academic essay. You are trying to explain why you feel deeply about a particular thing or why you hold a certain opinion. The why becomes very important when it comes to IELTS writing and IELTS speaking. Always keep that in mind and always build nicely on that why. If you remember this idea structure, it's easy to remember. Then you will have this mental checklist. You can also make it a physical checklist on a rough sheet and make sure you're hitting all the points before you finalize your essay. All right, now point number 2. Always write a clear thesis statement. This means that whenever you are asked a question, it will be something along the lines of, do you agree or disagree? What is your opinion? Talk about the advantages of both things and then give your opinion. So regardless of how the question is worded, your opinion will always be demanded. So your opinion that you are going to then justify through the rest of your essay has to be stated clearly. So make sure you're doing that in your introduction. Don't just paraphrase the question, clearly state your position. That means that you have to still paraphrase the question to begin your introduction. And once you are done paraphrasing the question, make sure that your position is at least being stated once in the introduction. Don't hold off till the end, till the conclusion to talk about your opinion. You're not creating any kind of suspense. This is not a thriller movie, it's an essay. So make sure your position is clear right off the bat. Here's an example of that. While both individuals and governments have roles to play, I firmly believe that large-scale action by authorities is more effective in addressing environmental challenges. So you have given a sort of concession that individuals have a role to play. I will talk about this later. Governments have a role to play. I will also talk about this later in my essay. And, excuse me for my sniffles, this is my opinion clearly stated, and later I will explain why this is my opinion, right? So my reader knows exactly what they can expect from this essay. I'm going to give justifications for this, I am going to give justifications for this, and I'm going to give a very, very good justification for this, okay? So make sure your stance is clear from the beginning. Number 3, write 2 body paragraphs, not 3. Now I've told you in multiple sessions that you can write 3 body paragraphs if required. For example, if you have the kind of essay where you have to discuss the advantages of both 1 and 2 and then give your opinion. In this case, you can make this body paragraph 1, make this body paragraph 2 and make this body paragraph 3. That's fine. But a lot of times in an effort to write 3 body paragraphs, you don't build your 2 body paragraphs enough. Alright, so it's always better to have 2 well-developed paragraphs rather than rushing to write a 3rd paragraph. It should not be a rule that you need to have 3 paragraphs. Instead, make your life easier, make your work easier, have 2 paragraphs so you know exactly how you want to structure them, and make sure they are both well-developed, detailed, they have lots and lots of examples, there's nothing missing, nothing that is yet to be addressed, or nothing that seems lacking. That is always better than having 3 paragraphs. Nobody is counting the number of paragraphs you have. The examiner just wants to check if you have added enough detail, if you've added enough material, if you have expressed your stance, your opinion, your thoughts properly. You can, as a rough figure, keep each around 100 words and each can focus on one clear idea. Another thing here is if you have too many different arguments, don't rush or don't feel compelled to mention all of those arguments. I know there is a tendency to want to sound smart, to want to sound intelligent. But here, if you rush to sort of add all your arguments, you will not be able to do that in the 40 or 30 odd minutes that you have to write the essay. So instead, pick out your 2 best arguments that you have the widest range of vocabulary for and just build on those. So instead of adding too much variety and creating like a fusion sort of an essay, make sure you're sticking to the traditional ingredients and build on 1 or 2 main arguments instead of adding too many different arguments. Alright? Okay. Next is use linking devices thoughtfully, not excessively. I've given you lists upon lists of linking devices, be it words or phrases, and I've told you how necessary they are. I once even made a diagram where I told you that there are a bunch of pipes and you want water to flow through these pipes, but if these pipes are not connected, the water is ultimately not going to reach its final destination, right? If you want the water to reach here, you need to make sure these pipes are well connected, right? So here the metaphor is quite obvious, it's right there, the analogy is quite clear. So the blue water Though that's the idea that you're trying to get across. Okay, your words, your sentences, your paragraphs, those are your pipes. This receptacle right here is your examiner. The pink connectors are your linking devices. They are extremely important. Without them, all of your words are going to fall flat. They will not be able to communicate your ideas clearly, because linking devices show a change in tone, a change in perspective, whether you're adding on to something, whether you're saying the complete opposite thing. These are very necessary things for the reader to be able to coherently understand what you're saying. Coherence and cohesion are both 25% of your criteria in writing. So you need to make sure that whatever you've written is coherent, is cohesive, and linking devices make sure that is the case. But if all I have are these connectors, even when they are not required, they are, first of all, unnecessary. Secondly, distracting. Let the pipe also do its work. So don't think that adding linking devices in the beginning of every sentence is necessary. Adding a linking device is necessary where linking is necessary. You have completed one thought. Once this thought is complete and you want to move on to the next thought, that's where you need to link, right? So make sure that you understand chunking in terms of an idea that's being presented and not chunking in terms of sentences. I have stated my point. I want to add an example. To let my reader know that I'm adding an example, I need to write the words for example, for instance, to illustrate, etc., etc. Right? This is necessary as a link to help the reader understand that 2 is an example that is proving 1. Okay? So understand where linking is necessary. If I'm saying two completely different things, this is my thought 1. This is my thought 2. Both of these are opposites. Okay. Both of these are opposites to indicate that these are opposite thoughts and so that the reader is not left confused. On the other hand, on the contrary, in contrast, conversely, however, but I have so many options to link those two ideas together and show the relationship between them, which is that of being opposites. So understand where and what kind of linking is necessary and then do it. Don't add it unnecessarily everywhere, right? So good linking words that aid in understanding are moreover, in contrast, as a result, on the other, and there are many, many more. So I'm just going to write array. Come on. Okay. I'm just going to write an etc. here to help you understand that there are hundreds more. Okay. Avoid overusing firstly, secondly, finally. You can use these. Obviously, they are great when it comes to organizing your essay. But if every paragraph is starting with firstly, secondly, thirdly, finally, then it seems very simplistic, very childish, immature writing. So make sure you're using a good variety of linking words where necessary. Don't overuse. Do not begin every sentence with a linker. Make sure you're only linking two chunks of ideas together. All right? Okay. Number 5, vary your sentence types. Now we know there are 3 basic sentence types: simple, compound, complex. I've explained this in detail, so if you have missed out on any of the previous sessions, make sure you go and watch them to get a deeper understanding of different sentence types, you need to make sure that you're adding a mix of these, right? If you only have complex after complex after complex sentences, everything is going to get too complicated. The reader will lose interest because their ability to understand or comprehend what is written will be muddled. Okay? Make sure that you are using simple sentences to, number one, break monotony. Make sure that it's not sounding the same. If the sentences are too long, what happens if a sentence is too long? While reading it, midway you can lose track. And if you lose track midway, then you have to reread the sentence. That becomes tedious, that becomes annoying. So make sure if you have a very long sentence that is doing a good job in proving a point, then the next sentence should be short and sweet. Have a couple of short and sweet sentences, then another long sentence, then short and sweet sentences. So if you mix it up like this, it becomes easy on the reader. The brain gets a bit of mental breaks in the middle in order to process everything that the brain is reading. Okay? So use a mix of these three sentence types, and one added tip, that masala, that garnishing on top, can be to add one conditional or inversion per essay. You can add more than one. It shouldn't sound forced or unnatural, but you will be able to naturally add at least one in all essays. So here, if more people walked or cycled, urban pollution levels would decrease significantly. This is a conditional, and now I have a quiz for you. You have to tell me in the comments which conditional this is. Okay? Next, use topic specific vocabulary. This, my friends, is 25% of your score in writing. 25% of your band is dependent on topic specific vocabulary. Now you need to understand that each essay question will belong to a certain field. The field, I've told you many times, can be education, environment, technology, urban planning, infrastructure, population, commuting, some sort of issue like that. Something that affects us and we have a bit of knowledge about. You won't randomly get an essay topic on some rare form of bacteria that causes a certain disease, right? Because you're not a microbiologist. Or you won't suddenly get an essay topic asking you to talk about the accuracy of seismographs. You're not going to get anything technical about a particular discipline. All these fields are going to be broad. They're going to be something that anyone with general awareness knows about. So recognize that field and then make sure you use topic specific vocabulary, which I keep giving you. And if you want to learn more about this, then every Monday I bring for you a session in which I pick one topic and I tell you different writing questions and speaking questions that you can expect from that topic. Not only do I give you points that you need to know about in order to frame your answers, I also give you topic specific vocabulary that you can use. So make sure you are catching those sessions. You can see the one already done on education. It's on the channel, and I will see you on Monday with a session on crime and punishment. Okay? So here, instead of saying good education, you can say things like quality education, affordable schooling, skill-based curriculum, educational infrastructure. All of these are more domain specific, topic specific, words or collocations that are generally used in this context. Let me write that down for you. Okay? So if you read news articles related to education, you will see all of these words or collocations. That's what you need to start paying attention to and making lists of, So you can incorporate this topic-specific vocabulary in your responses, okay? Moving on, avoid overusing passive voice. Now, this is a suggestion that a lot of people give when it comes to writing, and it's a very generic suggestion. I don't think it should be followed as a blanket rule. There are some circumstances in which passive voice becomes absolutely necessary. But generally speaking, when you're writing an opinion-based essay, the understanding is that you need to feel strongly about that opinion. If you don't feel strongly about an opinion, why are you trying to justify it? Now, active voice just sounds more out there. Passive voice gives that little bit of sitting on the fence vibe, where you are putting the blame, or I would say the onus, on somebody else. So instead of saying, I believe, you are saying, it is generally believed. Who is it? Who are those people who generally believe? So instead of attributing the belief to yourself or somebody else, you attributed the belief to it, which is an entity that we don't exactly know about. Does that make sense? That's why in opinion-based essays, you can use active voice more to give that sort of push to your opinion that I personally believe this. Many experts, you can name people, they believe in this, environmentalists believe in this, etc., etc. So instead of saying something like, it is believed that people should recycle, say many experts believe people should recycle. This gives a sort of validation to your opinion because you are now saying experts believe. Who are you to argue with? Experts, okay? So here's where active voice can sort of give that psychological push that, okay, this person really feels deeply about what they are saying, okay? Now, the thing I was saying about sitting on the fence, what that means is you're not here nor there. You're not picking a side. You're being diplomatic. You're letting yourself off easy. That's sitting on the fence. You do not want to sit on the fence in an opinion-based essay. Nobody is going to judge you for your opinion. Obviously, if you go write something that's highly racist or sexist, yes, you will be judged. But I'm sure you are not stupid enough to do that. So don't do that. But regardless of what your opinion is, there can be a difference of opinion. Don't worry, it's not going to lead to any kind of lower marking. You can express your opinion. You will not be penalized if the examiner has a different opinion. You must choose a side and you must defend it. That is the point, the basic point of an opinion essay. All right? Next, rephrase the question in conclusion. Don't repeat it. I keep saying paraphrase the question, rephrase the question, paraphrase the question. There is a reason for that. If you think it's a hack to simply copy the question statement, then it's going to come off as extremely lazy writing. You don't want to do that. You want to show the examiner that, hey, I was able to understand the question. And the best way to show your understanding of the question is to rephrase it. Okay? Write it again in your own words. Express the same idea, but this time in your own words. So end by reinforcing your view with fresh language, not by copying your intro. And again here, don't see. So your intro, body, conclusion. That's the basic structure of your essay, right? Now your intro will also have a paraphrase of the question. Your conclusion will also have a paraphrase of the question. So make sure this is different from this and this is different from both this and this. So essentially you have to be able to express the question statement in at least two different ways. One for your introduction, one for your conclusion. Use fresh language, fresh words. Show the examiner that you can express the same idea in many different ways. For example here, to conclude, although individual actions matter, I believe that only governments and corporations have the influence and resources to drive meaningful environment reform. Now compare this. Compare this to what was given here. Compare this to this. Both are from the same essay. One is the intro, one is the conclusion. Both are expressing the same idea, but both use different words. So make sure you're able to replicate that. All right? And finally, you need to practice with real prompts and you need to time yourself. I've said this time and again that unless you put that kind of pressure on yourself, you will not be able to assess whether you can write a good essay in the actual IELTS test. If I give you 10 hours, I am sure you will be able to write a good essay. But if I put a time limit, that's going to add a lot of pressure, and many of us do not work well under pressure. You need to build that muscle memory. You need to get used to writing in a short span of time. You have 60 minutes for the entire writing task. Ideally, you should have a 20-40 division, but your first task can spill over to 25-30, right? Giving you 35 to 30 minutes sometimes for this task. Go with the lowest possible amount of time you need to write this essay. Start practicing with 40 minutes, then try to lower the time to 35 minutes, try to lower the time to 30 minutes just to be safe. If you're able to do this in 30 minutes, if you're able to do the first one in 15 minutes, that also leaves you with a lot of time to read and revise. Get rid of any typos and stuff like that, okay? Typos or errors, grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes. So make sure you are doing timed practice. Start with 40, try to come down and use the same structure every time. See, you are practicing with 10, 20, 50 different essays. You might think, why should I use the same structure every time? That will seem repetitive, that will seem memorized. But the examiner is only going to read one of your essays. You're going to write one essay in the IELTS. So the examiner doesn't know that you have used the same structure 50 other times. If you practice with the same structure, you won't have to waste any time figuring out the structure of your essay. You just have to add arguments, points, examples. Okay? So make sure you use the same structure every time. Use the ideas, strategy, and you will be able to build that muscle memory, and soon you will become a fast writer. And there are also physical limitations to writing. I don't know if you're going to take the computer IELTS or the written IELTS, but depending upon what you're more comfortable with, some people type slow, some people write slow. There are many factors at play over here, right? So timed practice is of the essence. It's going to make all the difference for you, all right? So that's the end of my video. I hope you found these tips helpful. If you did, please do subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. Make sure to like the video, leave comments, leave the answer to the question I asked you in the comments if you haven't, and follow us on Telegram so you don't miss out on updates. But most importantly, take care.